Hi guys, this is Lalana. Thanks for tuning into the Sovereign Path. So today we're going to talk about the dominant energy that you are holding within your field at any given moment, at all given moments, and how the dominant energy that you are holding in your field, even if your mind is trying to tell you that you're not doing this, sorry, let me move the camera, you're not doing this, or you're not believing that, or whatever it might be, the dominant energy is what prevails, right? The dominant energy is what we continue to see. The dominant energy is what we continue to create. So on the same light, depending on, I've done videos on this in the past as well, depending on how we're seeing the masculine, how we're perceiving the masculine, how we're perceiving this path, how we're perceiving the dynamic, what we're believing in those moments, that's the dominant energy. And that dominant energy is what you will see and how the twin will show up in your world and all of those sort of things. So the main thing that I want to hit on in this video is when we're moving through this path, having the awareness of, is the dominant energy, 111, is the dominant energy being in self-love? Is the dominant energy on you and your self-love and your awakening and your ascension process? Or is the dominant energy on figuring out the twin, figuring out when the twin's coming back, figuring out what tools and all sorts of stuff that you can use to attract them back in, figuring out how to manifest the twin, figuring out all these things, right? Figuring out what you did wrong, how you failed, how much more work you need to do, you know, what's the reward payoff as soon as you come into inner union that you're going to get this, right? What's the reward in regards to as soon as I do this and then I come into neutrality and then I'll have the reward of, you know, the twin coming back and all of those sort of things. So is your dominant energy focused on them, or is your dominant energy focused on you? This one's big, guys. I did a video similar to this several months ago, and it's really important that we have the awareness that, and I'm, like I said in some of my other videos, I'm going to continue to do more videos on conscious creation so that we can really start getting a handle on what we're looking at. And I've had a ton of requests for me to start making video content on this. So just keep your questions coming, guys, and I'm writing my lists. This is another video that was requested from you guys that I'm doing right now. So yeah, you are the creator of your reality, as you've heard me say, as you hear a lot of people say. We are the creator of our reality. And being the creator of our reality, we need to have the awareness that the dominant energy that we are holding within us is the energy that is showing up in our reality. So if the dominant energy is what's wrong, how many more, you know, wormholes I need to go down to figure this whole thing out, how much I wish my life was different, how much I wish, you know, my job was different, or the twin flame dynamic was showing up in a different way, or, you know, the list goes on and on and on. If that's our dominant energy, then that is what we are creating. That is the power that we hold here. We have always been creating. We just didn't know it. So until we're coming into that higher awareness, until we're coming into our conscious awareness, we didn't know that we were creating. We were creating through the programs. We were creating through beliefs. We were creating by default as we were experiencing the separation paradigm, right? And now that you're waking up out of the separation paradigm and you're going through the ascension process, you're coming more and more into the awareness of that you have always been in the driver's seat in regard to creating your reality. The I am presence that is you came in and descended into this 3D paradigm to have those experiences of separation. But you were creating those experiences of separation, right? All this time we have been experiencing those or creating those experiences. So in the same light, as you are awakening into the fact that you are the I am presence, that you are the higher self, that you are higher awareness, that you are love, and all of these things, that you are God source experiencing itself in a myriad of different ways, then we're coming into the awareness that we are still creating. It's just now we're creating instead of by default through patterns and programs and belief systems and identifications, now we are consciously creating through the awareness that we are oneness, that we are unity, that we are love, right? That we are interconnected, and all of those sort of things. So regardless of where you sit in what I'm saying, the predominant energy that we hold is what we see. It is what we create. So when we're talking about the twin flame dynamic specifically, we're talking about, are we focused on our ascension, our love, our inner union, our neutrality, you know, the oneness, the interconnectedness, the unconditional loving, the I am presence? Are we focused on that? Or as I said, are we focused on, how do I get the twin back? You know, how do I finagle this thing? How do I work this thing? What are they doing? Who are they with? Why are they there? Why are they here? Why did this happen? Why did that happen? All of these sort of things, right? When we're focused on all of that, we see more of it. We create more of it. And when we're focused on all of this, we create more of that. So we do have like this sort of sneaky, right? As you move further on this path, a lot of people in my coaching will be like, yeah, I'm noticing that my ego gets kind of sneaky in certain moments. You know, my pain body gets kind of like, I'll think I'm doing really well, you know, anchoring inner union, or I'm in neutrality or whatever. And then I'll have like these moments and I can feel that it's past energy. I can feel that it's old energy. And then I'm just like, kind of like wondering, like, what do I do with that? Why is that coming up? What's the deal? What's going on? So, you know, when we're in these moments, we want to have like the full-blown discernment, of being very, very honest and truthful with ourselves. Are we trying to hack the system in regard to the ascension path by staying in love and light? I'm going to do another video on this. Let's expand on this more. By staying in love and light all the time, and thinking that if we stay in love and light all the time, then we're hacking the system somehow, and we are potentially overriding the program and overriding, you know, the patterns and all of these things. Just have that discernment with yourself. Are you doing that? Because a lot of times people are not aware that they're actually doing that until they have some sort of massive trigger come through again from the twin, and then they wonder where they went wrong. They wonder okay, wait, I was doing the work and now I feel like I failed, because I feel like I was like, you know, coming into inner union and I've been really positive, and I've been like staying in like all these positive thoughts, and I've been like, you know, making sure that I'm not falling into negativity, and I'm not doing all of these things. You know, and I've, you know, the twin's been coming in and it's been feeling, you know, really nice or whatever else. And then, you know, suddenly some sort of like, you know, trigger comes up or bomb comes up or whatever else. And you feel like you're just kind of spiraling backwards again. In those moments, be super, super discerning with yourself. Like really, really be very honest with yourself. And the ownership is, where was your predominant energy? Where was it? Because a lot of times we sort of feel like, without being like consciously having the awareness of, we're doing the inner work, or we're taking the courses, or, you know, we're being the observer, or we're doing these things because we want a reward. We want a prize. And we feel like the ego is telling you this, that if you figure this path out, and that if you do all the things that the path is telling you that you're supposed to do, then you'll come into inner union, or you'll come into neutrality, depending on who teaches it what, and however else. I know other people teach other things. If I do all of these things, then that means that I'm going to get the twin back, right? So I've done a lot of videos about this. Like, if I do X, Y, Z, then I'll get, you know, ABC, the prize, and, you know, the reward system kind of thing. I'm doing things in order to be rewarded for the things that I'm doing, right? I have a job that I don't necessarily like, but I know if I stay in this job, I'm going to make a lot of money. But in the meantime, I don't really like the job, so I'm moving from lack, and I'm doing it because it's going to make me a lot of money, so I'm moving from lack. So I'm not moving from a place of abundance or wholeness or completeness within. I'm moving from a place that's saying, this is what I need to do in order to get this thing, right? A lot of people move through this path like that, and they sort of feel like, okay, I'm doing all of these things, and so to be rewarded for that thing. And so then they wonder why I've been doing all this work, and so why did this kind of backfire, or why did I feel like I'm going backwards? Because your predominant energy was still on them. Your predominant energy was still on the reward, on the gain, on what you were going to get in regard to the physical aspect of the masculine. So when your dominant energy is still trying to get, chase, gain, you know, all of those things, it's going to backfire, because it means the dominant energy is not on your self-love. You're not being self-loving in those moments. You're being self-sabotaging, and you're placing all of the emphasis on your external reality, right? Not having the awareness that this entire reality is an as within reality. It's an as within game. And so if the predominant energy within you is playing that game, then that predominant energy within you is going to create that reality, right? That's just kind of unfortunate. Well, it's just the way it works. It's just the way it works, right? No different is that if your predominant energy is always in a place of feeling like everything sucks in your life, and you're always like down and nothing works out for me, and this is just my lot and luck, and this is just the way things are, and you know, I can't change it, and all of those sort of things. It's like we don't realize that's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And the ego doesn't want to hear that that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It pisses the ego off, and so then the ego fights back, and so the ego gets in resistance, and then so we create more of it. And so then we get more pissed off because we're like, see, I told you that didn't work. Not realizing that it's the resistance and it's the ego conditioning that is just snowballing on itself and creating more of what we don't want, which is telling the mind, see, look, I told you this didn't work because see, look, right? It didn't work. I did this, but it didn't work. It's because the predominant energy is still telling you that something's wrong, that you have to work, that you have to strive, that you have to try, that you're not worthy, and blah, 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 like a million other things. If the predominant energy is still telling you that, then the predominant energy is going to prevail, and it's what we're going to see. So this is why I'm like such a huge proponent, and I say this in tons and tons of my videos. The ascension, the awakening process is what the twin flame path is. It's what it is. You are going through a spiritual awakening if you are experiencing a twin flame dynamic. If you're not going through a spiritual awakening, then you're not experiencing a twin flame dynamic. The importance of the spiritual awakening is paramount. It's paramount on this path. It's the spiritual awakening and the ascension process that brings you back into self-love. It's the ascension process that frees you from creating all of that same shit, the same program, the same thing, the same resistance, the same annoyance, the same dominant energy that you feel like you're stuck in. The ascension process is literally freeing you from that. This path is the freedom key. It's pulling you out of it. So I'm always putting ascension first. I will always put ascension first. The twin and the interaction with the twin and the harmonious interaction physically with the twin and all of that sort of stuff is icing. It's icing, but it's not the cake. And so if we're putting the icing first, and that's the predominant energy, then all we're going to ever have is icing. It's like trying to build like a castle on sand. It has no stability. It has no solid foundation to build itself from, which is why those dynamics are going in and out and up and down and round and off and on and hot and cold, because you are going in and out and round and on and off and hot and cold. And if you're doing that, if that's your predominant energy, then as within, so without. That's what you're seeing, right? So just really have that awareness. I need to focus on my self-love. I need to focus on my ascension. That needs to be like your whole focus is your ascension. If you're going through awakening process, I mean, if you're going through an ascension process, it's going to be your focus, because the higher self is going to push you and not let it not be your focus. But in those moments that we sort of fall back into the old program and the old pattern that is saying like, okay, I need to do all of these things. I've done a lot of videos over this over the last couple of weeks, cutting cords, detaching, all of these 3D separation modalities that are trying to attract the twin back into your life are the literal opposite of any sort of spiritual awakening, because they're promoting separation techniques in order to create oneness. It's the most ridiculous, backward thing. It doesn't work. It does not work. It has nothing to do with awakening. Awakening is bringing you back into union. It's bringing you back into oneness. It's bringing back into unity consciousness. It's remembering that I am the I am presence. The I am presence doesn't cut cords. It doesn't detach. It doesn't try to manifest the twin, right? It doesn't chase. It doesn't go after. It doesn't yearn. What does it do? It stands in its peaceful presence. It stands in its sovereignty. It attracts through love, because that's what it is. That's what this path is bringing you back to. And as I've said in a lot of my videos, I work with a lot of people that are coming into inner union. I work with a lot of people that are in inner union. And I always appreciate when people in the comments are also saying, yes, this exists. Inner union is a real thing. Freedom is a real thing. Having your abundance come online is a real thing. Coming out the other end of the twin flame dynamic and finding yourself, that's the prize. And it's the most amazing prize you could ever imagine, because we don't remember what that is. We don't remember what that feels like. When you find yourself again, when you come into the I am presence of love again, that's when it's as within, so without as well. So that's what you're creating now, right? And you're not trying to create, you're just creating by default. We're always creating by default based on what we are holding within us, based on that predominant energy. I can say I am mantras all day long until I'm blue in the face. But if my predominant energy is saying, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you're not, guess what it creates? No, you're not, right? That's what it creates. So we have to have that awareness of the you and you thing, the you and you game, the you and you love, the transmuting, the emotion, the feeling the stuff, the calling it back, the observing the thoughts. That's what this is. That's what this is. And so if you get on board with that, I promise you, you will be feeling better than you've ever felt in your life, right? If you get on board with your ascension and you release this constant feeling of I'm having to do all of these crazy modalities in order to attract this person in, right? You will feel better if you release that stuff. Because the thing is that, so say you cut cords, say you detach, say they come back in. I did a couple videos on this, y'all can watch. They come back in, and then guess what? You're not in inner union. You're not in neutrality. And so then what happens? The whole damn thing loops again. You're back at square one. You're back where you started, because the ascension didn't come first. Your loving self didn't come first. You weren't putting that first. It wasn't your predominant energy, right? And so because of that, now with the twin again, it's like, oh, they came back, so I was doing something right. And then bam, boom, 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 boom. In and out, up and down, hot and cold, right? Because this is about you. You are the one. You're the one. You're it. You are the twin. You are the leading energy in this entire thing. You are the creating energy in this entire thing, right? And I know that that sounds like massive on some level, and it sounds annoying to some people on some level, but you will get to a point as you continue to ascend that you'll get it. It'll snap. It'll be like, oh, okay. And that's the moment that suddenly you're like, okay, I feel really good. And I feel good within me. I don't feel good because someone is, validating me or making me feel worthy. I don't feel good because I, got to the next goal, right? Because I won some sort of prize. I won my prize. I won the prize that is me. And so now the love that is me is just shining out like a light from within me. It's just what I am, right? This becomes your embodiment. It becomes your dominant energy. And when it becomes your dominant energy again, then that is what you attract. You attract love, you attract abundance. Things just fall into your lap. Suddenly you find your purpose, and not because you were looking for it, because it just fell into your lap, right? You feel called, right? You have the awareness that you are literally operating now from the I am presence through oneness and through unity, rather than through separation and lack and all of those sort of things, right? So just feel into that. And in those moments where You have that awareness that, okay, I'm leaning more into, how do I sort of, get this back or figure this out or whatever, and have those awarenesses of, okay, I need to lean into my ascension. That's what you need to do. You need to lean into your ascension. It's like, this is the part of the path where, that quote that says, let go or be dragged, it starts to be like we can make things easier for ourselves in regard to just being in that surrender place. Because as I've said also, your mind will ask thousands of questions, depending on how you function, until it literally exhausts itself. You will run out of questions. The mind cannot figure this out. It does not understand what it is. Even if I sit here and say, oh, well, it's quantum mechanics, or it's quantum physics, or, there's this science behind it, or this science behind it, and we've proved this thing, that twin flames are actually real, or this is your other incarnation, and all of that stuff, right? Or all the gates and the ladders and all the shit that you have to go through, and all the different levels and layers and all that crap. Like, yeah, it's interesting. I've said that in 1,000 videos. It's interesting. Does it help you? No. Why doesn't it help you? The reason that it doesn't help you is because it's giving you information for your mind to understand a concept that it can never understand, because the mind has nothing to do with ascension. This is energetic, right? This is the Hieros Gamos. This is energy. You are energy. It's what you are. You're an energetic being. We are all energetic beings. We are experiencing the I am presence through this, reality. The mind can only get you so far on this path. And this is why when you keep going round and round and round and wanting to know, well, why this and why this and why this and why this and why that, and what about this and what about this and what about this, you will drive yourself crazy with that. You will. The questions will never end. It's like digging down 1,000 rabbit holes, right? The more you're looking for issues, the more you're going to find them. The more you're looking for blocks and looking for reasons and looking for stuff, the more you're going to find it, right? Because that's what the mind does. It's relentless. It never shuts up, right? And that's when you have the awareness that at some point, you have to surrender to the fact that your mind does not understand. It doesn't understand, and it's not meant to understand. It's fine to understand. When you finally get to that point and you surrender to the fact that this is the higher self's path, it's the higher self's path. It's the I am presence path. It's not the mind's path, right? Stop trying to figure all that stuff out. It's going to drive you absolutely crazy. And all of those modalities that are coming from, like, all the stuff that I've been saying, do this and figure this out and figure this out, and this all of it means this and all of that kind of stuff, is still moving from all of those mind concepts. It's not moving from awaken out of all that shit, because that's what awakening is doing. It's pulling you out of all that stuff, and then you see that all that crap was illusions too. It was all more separation too. It was all the mind trying to explain and understand something that it doesn't understand. That's why I say all the time, this is an experiential path. It's not a logical path. And people say, well, why can't you explain it? You should be able to explain it, logically. And why is that? Because the mind believes that. Because the mind believes that. That's why the mind will say that. Because the mind doesn't know what awakening is, right? And anyone who has been on a full-blown awakening path and ascension, and you come into inner union, you'll know the mind has nothing to do with this. This isn't about logic. This isn't about figuring it out. But when your dominant energy is saying, like, figure it out, be in the mind, you're creating that as well. You're creating more of those things. So again, your dominant energy needs to be ascension and self-love. And that's it, right? That's what's freeing you. That's what's bringing you back into the place that, your ego is wanting to get, and all of those sort of things. It's like, this is the organic process that is bringing you into your highest timeline. It is bringing you into the best version of you, because you are going to be experiencing unity, oneness, love, abundance, all of those sort of things that are just coming from within you because they're your embodiment again, not because you're striving, yearning, hoping, wanting, chasing, and all of that sort of stuff. It's going to fall out of your vibratory resonance. So have that awareness when you're having those moments that it's sort of like, okay, what am I leaning into right now? What is the dominant energy, that's coming up for me? What's behind my thoughts right now? What is the right direction for me to go? Am I expressing myself in love through my I am presence and union and in oneness, right? And following my ascension path? Or am I expressing myself through fear and lack and separation and old programs? And what do I want to create? I mean, ultimately it comes down to that as well. Everyone's wanting to step into their higher timeline, right? And so it's having that awareness too, and that discernment of saying, do I want to repeat this old program? Do I want that to be, my dominant energy that I'm creating? So that's what I have for you guys. I hope that helps. You guys have an awesome day.